Hey y'all, I want to thank you for clicking on here today. It's a pretty day in New Mexico. The weather's warming up a little bit, and everything's shining in our neck of the woods. The group of us are starting to work on a new ride coming up. As many of y'all that have been keeping up with us lately have known that we're kind of starting this tour. We're going to call it the Circle the Wagons tour. And many of y'all out there, as I've already stated before, that know whenever out in the back in the Old West, whenever the guys started circling the wagons, it was typically whenever they started coming under attack. And any of y'all that kind of think the same way I do, you know that, man, we're coming under attack in our country today. Our way of life, our heritage is becoming coming under the gun, and we're starting to kind of get our rights taken away from us as far as Americans go. And I was able to speak yesterday at the Republican Women's group here in Alamogordo, and what I hit on whenever I spoke to them there is just how we've got to start standing up. We've got to start standing up and taking a stand. And as I mentioned yesterday, and what we're seeing here in New Mexico is that stand starting to take place on the county level. These Second Amendment sanctuary county resolutions that are being moved on and passed by our county commissioners under the power of our county sheriffs, that's where the battle is going to be won at, is on the county level. Because as I've mentioned before, our government is flowing backwards right now. You know, our founding fathers didn't intend for us to be legislated on by our federal government. Our founding fathers constructed our government to be by the people, for the people, and the people are to be at the top. And if anything affects the people, it should be local county government should be passing ordinances and laws that we have to or that we should be in line with. So again, I just want to make this quick video to just encourage you guys to reach out and support your local county sheriffs. Support your local county commissioners. Make sure that they're like-minded like you are wherever you're living at, and just encourage them to continue to take a stand for you, because I believe that we have all the power in the world underneath the Constitution of the United States to get out from underneath the legislation of our federal and our state government. But going back to what I started with this Circle the Wagons tour, we've got a ride coming up that we're looking at doing on April the 15th. We're going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to be horseback there. I think that pretty much all 13 of the original guys, and we're 12 guys and one girl, Keena. We're all planning on trying to make it there, and just to continue to try to create a platform that we can speak off of, that we can first support our president off of, and secondly, to push back on some of these liberal ideas that are infringing upon our constitutional rights, and just stand up for what's right. Because every person out there that's watching this right now, you know, each one of us are concerned about ourselves, but what should be the driving force in our concern is our children. We've got to stand up and remember who we are as Americans, and do all we can from the bottom of our gut, everything that's in us to secure America for our children. Because, you know, we've been under it. This attack from the left didn't just happen. You know, it's been going on now for years, and unfortunately, the generation that's before us, my parents' generation, probably many of you guys' folks out there, you know, they've kind of let all this kind of slip in on us unaware. You know, we shouldn't even have to be even having the debate about if it's right or wrong to kill a baby while it's in the womb. I mean, that Roe v. Wade, that should have never have come into existence. But I appreciate you following along with us. I don't want to bore you with a bunch of stuff that you already agree with me on. But just know that with this Cowboys for Trump deal, we're still building this foundation. We've got Ricky Chavis and Paul Summers and Rusty Hamilton, Todd Lindsay, Donna Talbert, a handful of folks out here in New Mexico that are beginning to get our state chapter organized. I talked to Joe Delk the other day down there in Las Cruces. We're gonna go rattle the cages on the county government over there in Donana County here pretty quick. I think their sheriff needs to be encouraged. I think their commissioners need to be encouraged. Unfortunately, they're one of the only counties in New Mexico that hasn't stepped up there and protected the people of Donana County and their Second Amendment rights. So we want to encourage them to stand up and do what's right regarding our Second Amendment. And I've also been talking to some guys down on the border. We're going to start a border ride down there here pretty quick. We're going to ride along the border and try to bring attention to what's going on there. Our governor and legislators want to say there's not a crisis along the border whenever every day there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are taken into custody along our border, and we can't keep on. There's just no way. We're getting flooded with immigrants coming from these countries that we don't know who they are, what kind of diseases they have, what their criminal background is, and I just want to say we're darn sure enough not against them. We're darn sure enough not anti-immigration, but we need processes, and we need the right processes in place for our own security here in our own nation. So keep following along there. We're going to keep you updated, and I'll finish this. Some of y'all behind me might see some of the Native American stuff, and we want to support our Native Americans. I've been talking to a handful of guys the last few days, and there's probably not a people group in the United States today that have been oppressed any worse than our Native American people. They've been, the government has tried to rob them of their pride. The government has tried to get them as dependent on the federal government as they possibly can, and we need to try to support our Native Americans here in the United States to just stand up against the oppression that they've been under, and to try to give them a voice back, and try to give them representation back, and try to build an alliance with them. Because what the federal government has tried doing to the Native American people, the federal government is trying to do all across the United States, and we don't need the government the government needs to focus on our borders and our national security. That's where we need the federal government at. We don't need the federal government creating social programs and creating legislation that oppresses us of people. We're the home of the free and the land of the brave, and because of the brave, and we need to continue that course. We don't need the federal government coming in and trying to do everything for us. We just need the government to focus on our borders and our national security, and that's exactly what the great president that we have in office right now, Donald Trump, is doing. We thank the president for his measures on border security, and we want to encourage the president to continue that fight on our border, because we need America that's secure. And then if we have security in our country, we can make our own rules. We the people can handle the legislation that we want to live under. We don't need a bunch of bureaucrats in D.C. telling us out here in New Mexico how we're supposed to live. We can do that on the county level. So I thank you for clicking on. I've seen a handful of my friends on there. It's kind of, I try to watch that screen and try to talk at the same time, and I kind of stumble over myself, and I apologize for that. But let's all band together, and the left is going to try to make cowboys for Trump and the American cowboy out to be some kind of racist, white supremacist nonsense garbage, which there's not a single one of us in my group that I've been able to see anyways that has any kind of a racist bone in our bodies. We're all Americans. We're Black Americans, we're Hispanic Americans, we're Native Americans, we're white Americans, we're Americans, and that's what we have to come underneath. That's what we have to embrace, and that's what will make America great again. Whenever we unite, we quit being divided, we quit fighting with each other, because the government wants us fighting with each other. The government wants us slinging mud at each other, throwing rocks at each other, and then that way we're all just disorganized. We're all pitted against each other, and then the government just keeps doing what they're doing. But the government needs to be called on the spot. President Trump, we thank you so much for having our back. We got your back. You have our back at the top, and we got your back at the bottom, and together we will make America great again. Thanks for clicking on. I'll quit wasting your time, and keep up with us, and yeah, build a wall. Thank you, and God bless. Adios.